Joining us now is Fred Lawrence. He's the Secretary and CEO of the Phi Beta Kappa Society and the former president of Brandeis University. So, Fred, always great to have you in with us.
Thank you. I'm good to be here.
I want to step back for a second.
Sure.
Let's hop into our time machine. Let's go back to the Obama administration. What were these policies that were put in place, and why were they put in place?
2014, the Education Department put in place policies that were designed to put schools on notice that if there was a disproportionate number of students of color who were disciplined, that the Office of Civil Rights of the Department of Education was going to look into it. The numbers they were looking at when they put these regulations in, among boys, was a 3-to-1 ratio. African American boys were 3 times more likely to be disciplined. Among girls, 6 times more likely to be disciplined. And by the way, this wasn't only about race. Students with disabilities were twice as likely to be disciplined. So the Department of Education 2014 wasn't saying that under any circumstances you can't do that. They were just putting you on notice that if it's that far out of whack, we're going to look to see what's going on.
And so it was non-binding when that policy went into effect in 2014. So what came out of that? Well, did they start to look at it, the Department of Ed?
I think they did. I don't know of any particular cases where it was enforced, but you know, sometimes it just has a salutary effect that if you know somebody's looking, you pay a little more attention.
Gotcha. And so this report, what stands out in this report the most to you?
Well, you know, this report, let's put this in context. This report is in the aftermath of the Parkland shooting. A commission was put together chaired by the Secretary of Education, but it included such people as Secretary of Health and Human Services, the Attorney General, and others of a cabinet level to look into school safety. So many of us thought the focus was really going to be on how do we protect schools, gun control around schools, school zones and the like. And there are some recommendations with respect to that.
And it kind of veered off the path, you're saying?
Well, it veered off the path to a certain extent. And the two things that really caught people's attention, certainly caught mine, one was a suggestion of looking into ways to arm officials within schools. Now, it kind of depends what you mean by that. If you mean police guards at schools, that's one thing. If you mean non-police people with guns, that's something different. So that's one thing people looked at. And then the other thing, as you suggested, was rolling back this 2014 regulation, which would take that away. Now, the idea behind that is that a school, therefore, can discipline anybody they want to, and they should be focused on who they want to discipline. I guess that sounds good. But those numbers, 3-to-1, 6-to-1, something sounds wrong there.
So the Trump administration, in rolling back this policy, said this: the guidance burdened local school districts, potentially exceeded the department's legal authority, and may have made students less safe. As the former president of the university, do you agree with that?
I don't think so. What it would have done to me, now, you know, remember, by the way, this is for K through 12, so this would not have affected a university. But assume that instead of university president, I was principal of a high school.
Sure.
Right. I would have said to my team, where are we on these numbers? And if they said, well, boss, you know, we're actually sort of 6-to-1 also, I'd say, well, why is that? Now, if they made a good case for why it was 6-to-1, maybe there's a particular gang problem and the gang is disproportionately students of color. Okay, then explain your situation. But what it does do is it just puts you on notice that if you're disciplining students of color way out of line with the others, maybe there's something else going on. It just ought to make you conscious of the fact of why am I making these decisions? Maybe there's some unconscious bias here.
So perhaps in devil's argument, perhaps that's a policy that just needed a defined time limit, and now schools were on notice. It was non-binding. Perhaps they've made changes, or do you feel that these protections still need to be in place?
I think the protections need to be in place because, again, they didn't say every time the numbers are out of whack that the hammer's going to fall. They just said you're on notice that the department is going to pay attention. It seems to me it's always worthwhile to know that the department is paying attention.
Always a great discussion when we have you in here. Fred Lawrence, thank you very much.
Pleasure to be with you. Happy New Year.
Happy holidays.